East River Hotel, Lower East Side, New York City, 21 January 1889. While Liza and I had taken shelter in the dressmaker's shop, winter had decided to run amok in the streets. The skies, which appeared pregnant with precipitation earlier, finally gave birth to a shrieking storm. Wet snowflakes plopped against the roof of our carriage, cocooning us in a layer of frigid cold. Wind howled as it rushed through the alleyways, forcing people to pull their collars up and run as quickly as they dared over ice-slicked streets. Even though I'd purchased new stockings and was wearing one of the warmer pairs of shoes Thomas had had made for me, my teeth began to chatter. I clamped my jaw together, hoping to will the chills away through sheer stubbornness alone. It was impossible. My teeth clacked in the most embarrassing way. Thomas eyed me from across the hansom, then checked the warming brick at my feet, face grim. "It needs to be reheated over a fire," he said, half unbuttoning his overcoat. I watched as his own body trembled before I reached over and stilled his movements. What happened to body heat being the most effective way of preventing frostbite? If you take that coat off, you'll freeze before you can valiantly assist me. He glanced up, the seriousness leaving his features at once. I swore stars danced in his golden brown eyes. "What did you think I was doing?" "Removing your overcoat to place about my feet?" He shook his head, his expression laced with mischief. "I was planning on stripping bare and having you do the same. That is the best way to share body heat. I paid the driver to go around the block a few times if necessary. Figured we might sneak back to your grandmother's house instead of frolicking around another murder scene. Since she's traveling and the house is empty, I imagine I could get you warm soon enough." He dragged his gaze over me in a way that felt more searing than a simple touch. His look promised what months of flirtations had hinted at, and there was little humor in how serious he was about pleasing me. Despite the plummeting temperature in our carriage, I felt the sudden need to fan myself. He pulled his attention back up to mine, lips quirked upward. "Perhaps you'll be the one getting me warm. I'm not opposed to either scenario, really. Lady's choice." My cheeks pinked. "Scoundrel!" "I love when you whisper sweet nothings to me." Thomas maneuvered himself across the carriage and sat beside me. He opened one side of his coat, then wrapped an arm about my shoulders, drawing me near. I noticed his attention had moved to the frost-coated window, all signs of flirtations melting faster than the snow outside would. Whatever he'd seen earlier had to have been gruesome for him to not elaborate on any details and to flirt so brashly. He was doing his best to keep me distracted, which was never a good sign for the victim. We rumbled past Catherine's Lip and turned down Water Street. It won't be much longer now. I nestled into my collar, breathing in the warmth of my own body. The buildings had gone from gleaming, pale-coloured limestone to brick covered in grit and all kinds of sludge. Cobblestone streets gave way to muddy ones, frozen in parts and treacherous-looking for more than one reason. I spied groups of children huddled together between buildings, their faces and limbs gaunt. It was a brutal morning to be outside. Thomas, never missing a detail, held me tighter. "They're mostly children from Italy. Either they've run from their families or have been turned out to earn money for them." A lump rose in my throat. "They're so young. How on earth can they make a wage?" Thomas grew very quiet. Too quiet for a young man who enjoyed sharing facts on every subject imaginable. I noticed his fingers weren't tapping their usual incessant beat either. I looked out the window again and suddenly knew what he couldn't bring himself to say. Those boys, those children, would have no choice but to turn to a life riddled with crime. They'd fight, steal, or subject themselves to worse horrors in order to survive. And some would not. It was a fate I could not imagine for my worst enemy, let alone a child. Even though Thomas had once mentioned the world was neither kind nor cruel, I couldn't help but feel it was unjust to so many. I stared, unseeing, as we rode by, feeling helpless. Neither of us spoke again until we reached our destination. As our carriage rumbled to a halt, chills erupted down my spine for an entirely new reason.